بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Firstly, I greet everybody. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And this, if we remember that lecture I gave with regard to the meanings of salam, rahmah and barakat, I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this beautiful day of Ramadan, the 13th of Ramadan, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you whatever the meaning of salam, whatever the possible meanings of rahmah and barakat are, that Allah grants everybody this, not only those who are listening, but the Muslim ummah and the world at large. This will now lead us into our discussion for today. If you remember, in the past we discussed wanting good for other people and not having malice in your heart for other people. Today we're going to discuss the last 4 branches of faith which pertain to the heart. And that's number 27, 28, 29, and 30. So number 27 is not to be jealous of anyone. And I think people get confused here between jealousy and envy. So let us just quickly discuss jealousy and envy, the difference between the two, and why there's a difference between the two. So envy is when you see somebody driving past with a bright green Jeep Wrangler and you think to yourself, oh man, Ya Rab, if only I could also have a Jeep Wrangler. And you don't look at that man wanting him to lose his Jeep Wrangler and you must get it. You just also want. So envy is to look at other people that may, and I'd like everybody to focus on envy in a religious way. Right? There's nothing wrong with being envious. And the hadith speaks about if you could envy anybody, you should be envious of a number of people, 2 or 3 people. Number 1 is a person who has been given a lot of wealth and he spends generously in the path of Allah. A person who's not been given knowledge and he practices and teaches. And a person who's been taught how to read the Quran and he recites it day and night, if I remember the hadith correctly. So to be envious of people that, oh man, I wish I could also be in the masjid 5 times a day in the first saf every salah. I wish I could also set up my life in such a way that, I don't have to go to work. I could rather spend my time working from home, and I could spend my I could free up my time and do ibadah. Which reminds me, I've got 2 friends who are doctors, 2 brothers, and they set up their practice in such a way that they could draw more customers. Can you believe that they set up their practice in such a way, or their practices in such a way, that they could free up more of their time so that they could spend it in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and serving the deen of Allah in various ways. So let us think about envy in a religious light, that there's nothing wrong with envying a person who's got a nice house, a nice car. Don't check that his wife out and be envious now. But we should be envious rather of people who are drawing nearer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're focusing on the akhirah, because as I always say, the best investment you can make is the investment in the akhirah, for a simple 2 reasons. Number 1, your heart goes where your money is. Right? Your heart is where your money is. So if you've invested in charity and you've spent money in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you have served the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on that front in terms of charity and kindness and humanitarian aid, because you put in an investment in your akhirah, your heart is going to be there, and you're not prepared to throw away your deen, because then all the money you've spent in the deen or for the sake of the deen, that will be lost as well. And also the reason why we should be envious of people with regards to deen is because that would encourage us to also to compete, right? Allah speaks about this in the Quran, وَفِي ذَلِكَ فَلْيَتَنَافَسِ الْمُتَنَافِسُونَ. If you want to compete with other people, don't compete with how big your empire is, how many children you've got, how many wives you've got, how many businesses you've got, how many buildings you earn, how many cars you drive, how many supercars you drive, how many credit cards you have. And nowadays people are being ridiculous. They're boasting about how many illnesses they have and how expensive their medical aid is. Oh man, I pay 6,000 Rand a month, just for my medical aid because I've got so many diseases. Only 6, you're so lucky. Mine is already at 16. This is ridiculous. Oh, I went to the hospital. I had to go to a certain hospital because I was so ill, and they charged me so much. Oh, is it? I had an ingrown toenail. I had to go to XYZ hospital, which is like the elitist hospital in the country, and I paid 5 times more than your heart operation. I mean, this is the kind of thing that people boast about nowadays, because you're not good enough. I mean, you can't compete with a car anymore because the bank funds it. You can't compete with a house anymore because the bank funds it. So now you must compete in sicknesses because you can't buy that. May Allah give us hidayah. So be envious of people who are religious and who are practicing on their religion and their deen, because that would encourage us and spur us on to compete in a healthy competition for deen. So you walk into the masjid, you see your brothers reading salah, and you also go and read salah, not to show off or to think you're better than him, but because, hey, that's a good idea. I don't have so much salah, like as much salah as he does, so let me also go and read 2 rakats of salah. Like that, we will be building on our deen. Jealousy, on the other hand, is where you see a person having a certain bounty, enjoying something, whatever it may be, right? And you become so, evil or malicious in your intent that you don't care whether you get it or not, as long as he doesn't have it. And I normally see this with children. The child is jealous because he's got a nicer little toy car than I do. So what does he do? He'll break the toy car. So that is pure jealousy because I'm not benefiting from destroying your car. It's not like if a little child breaks the car, he's now going to have it and play with it, right? Envy, on the other hand, as we explained, he's got a nice car. Hey, I wish I also had a nice car. And maybe you make dua, maybe you make a plan, and you also get a nice car. Jealousy, you would rather see the man lose his bounty than see him enjoy the bounty. And that our Shaykh explains to us, Moulana Abdul Hamid from Darul Ulum in Azadville, that is based on you're actually being angry with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's also the root of that disease, jealousy, is pride. Because you think you deserve and that person does not deserve. And on that basis, why does he have? So you feel rightful, or you feel it is perfectly acceptable for you to take his bounty away from him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with tawfiq and understanding that we avoid this disease. So being jealous is a disease. Not being jealous is one of the 77 branches of faith. And it brings us back to that truly wanting good for your Muslim brother. And I encourage everybody, again, if you see somebody progressing in life, go to him and congratulate him. Tell him how happy you are for him and ask him to make dua for you. It's like you walk into the workplace and there's the blue-eyed boy of the office and you can't understand why the boss just likes this guy so much because you don't like him. So that's fine. You don't have to like everybody in life. But what you do is don't go and put spanners in his works and tattletale and carry stories about him to the boss so that he can fall from grace. Rather, go to him, congratulate him, say that you've noticed the boss really likes him, and ask him for some tips. Maybe the boss will start liking you too. You know what I'm saying? So let us be clever in this. The number 28 is not to become angry. And this is not as general, right? So a person never becomes angry. Say, walking in town and a random man walks up to your wife and he gives her a big hug and a kiss and he walks away. Obviously, bro, you're going to become quite angry about that. And people laugh about this, right? That Moulana always gives these examples. But the ladies are, bro, let's be fair. If a random woman walked up to your husband in town and she just gave him a hug and kissed him on his cheek and walked away, all hell would break loose because this guy is sticky. You know what I'm saying? So it works both ways, right? But not to become angry. Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah ta'ala says, "Man istughdaba falam yaghdab fahuwa himar." If somebody angers you, irritates you, annoys you, and you don't become angry, you're a donkey. It's natural to become angry. What is unnatural and what is un-Islamic and what we mean by not becoming angry is you don't vent that anger, take out your anger on other people. Normally you'll find parents will take out the anger on their children. So now you're angry because of the work, something bad happened in the day, you come home, you take it out on your family. They did nothing. They had absolutely nothing to do with your bad day. In fact, I'm going to give you a quick story here. There was a man, every day he would come home, I may have mentioned this before, and he would go like this and hang on the tree. Nothing. When he comes, and his wife was watching him from the window, then he comes home and he goes like this, and he hangs it on the tree. And again, the next day, hangs it on the tree. One day she said, "Brew, what's the deal here? What are you doing?" So he said, I was taught this advice that you leave your problems at your door. When you walk into your home, don't bring the day's problems and the issues and everything with you into your house. Your house must be your sanctuary. Your house must be your safe and happy place. When you come in there, your children must be like, this is the person we've been waiting for the whole day. And when you see them, you must feel like this is where I find my safety and my peace and my sanctuary, right? And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses us all with the understanding of how we can actually develop this environment in our homes. Unfortunately, we justify all the wrongs we do to people and we ill-treat them and we speak wrong. So like the man comes in the house, generally it's the man, and he's got like a frown on his face. Instead of telling him, "Hey, Take your attitude, go back home, go back to work. You don't come here with it. And it's going to just exacerbate the problem. Sorry for my accent. That's just, oh no, you accident, right? I mean, accent. So instead of fighting with the man for coming home with a frown on his face, let him come in and ask him, are you okay? Is there something I can do for you? And then if he starts ranting and raving, just listen, bro. Just go sit down on the couch and bring you a cup of tea or for me, it'll be a cup of coffee. Whatever the case may be. Sit down. Just chill. We'll speak about it later. You can offload on me. I'm here for you. You've just saved the situation so beautifully that tomorrow if your husband comes home angry, he won't actually frown like that. Because he'll know. I'm going to come home. My wife is going to sit me down on the couch because my face looks like this. And then we'll speak about it. I can offload on her and problem solved. And sometimes we just need someone to talk to. You just need someone to offload on, right? So anyway, let's speak about this again. Not becoming angry doesn't mean that we don't become angry at all. It means we don't vent our anger. In fact, the hadith says, من كظم غيظه وهو قادر على أن ينفذه دعاه الله على رؤوس الخلائق يوم القيامة ليخيره من الحور العين ما شاء. And this is because generally it's the man that's going to strip and he's going to lose his temper and start ranting and raving, and he's the one who's actually able to physically vent his anger on other people. Although some of the complaints I've received from the men, brothers and sisters in Islam, Ya Allah, I'm not going to go into that discussion, right? So a man, specifically because generally it's the man who's going to lose his temper and physically become violent, right? A man who controls his temper, the word is kadham. Kadham, you force a lid on your anger. وَهُوَ قَادِرٌ عَلَىٰ أَنْ يَنْفَذَ. But he's able to vent his anger. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will call him in front of everyone he has ever created on the day of Qiyamah and give him a choice of the damsels of Jannah, the hurs of Jannah, whichever one he pleases he can have, as a reward for the fact that he has controlled his anger, right? So the fact that he's gotten angry was not a problem, because anger is normal, it's part of our human makeup. But the fact that he didn't vent his anger and take it out on other people who were not deserving recipients of that anger, that is what earned him this beautiful position in Akhirah, this gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then, number 29, we've discussed before, not to wish harm and ill for other people. It comes back to that one, نُصْحْ لِكُلِّ Muslim, truly wanting good for our fellow Muslim. So, wanting good is a branch of faith, and not wishing ill, because it doesn't necessarily go hand in hand. You could want good for other people, but hope they see they must get their due, their turn must come, you know. So it's a different thing but we all know the hadith says, كَمَا تَدِينُ تُدَانُ. As you do will be done to you. So I can forgive you, and I can say, what, Allah must bless you with the best in this dunya. Allah must give you everything you desire and make you happy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must replace what you've lost with what is better. That kind of a thing. However, I know in the back of my mind that the day is going to come when he's going to realize, because that's how life works. So it's a different thing knowing that life works like this and his day is going to come. And his time must come. Wacht net, and then you rub it in his face, and it's a big difference. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with clean hearts. Like Sheikh Hublus said, that if you say things like, I can forgive but I can't forget, then with respect, you haven't truly forgiven to begin with. So we need to forgive, and forget means that we just don't harbor that ill feeling for the next man. May Allah give us tawfiq. And the last one is not to have love for the world. So to have love for the world, I'll give you a simple example, right? I'm going to show you my watch, but this is like a Casio. It's like only $420. Okay, it's a cheap one. Okay, love for the world. We're human beings, right? Everybody wants to stay in a nice house. Everybody wants to drive a nice car, and there's nothing wrong with wanting a nice house, wanting a nice car. There's nothing wrong with wanting to wear nice clothes. There's nothing wrong with wanting to eat nice food, because we all want to have nice things. That's life. But when this becomes the objective of your life to the extent that you start missing your salah in your pursuit of wealth, and you stop caring about halal and haram because you're only pursuing what you want. So it makes no difference how you get that 3 million rand to buy the Lamborghini of your dreams, as long as you get that money. So now you're swindling zakat, and you're stealing from the bank, and you're scamming VAT, and all of this. Why? Because you just want your car. So there's a big difference between, like I said, liking nice things, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beautiful and He likes beauty. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also likes to see the effect of His bounties upon His servants. So if Allah has given you and you use the bounties He's given you and you are grateful to Him knowing it comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and it's not your own doing, then there's nothing wrong with that. But the big problem is, now I've got a nice car and I've got a nice house and I've got a nice wife and I've got 5 children and I've got a good salary and everything is going for me. Now I start ill-treating people and talking down to them because they're not on my level. Whereas, remember we said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can take those bounties away at any given time. At any given time, never to think yourself better than other people. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with wanting nice things and having nice things and enjoying the bounties that Allah has given us, right? But please, my brothers and sisters in Islam, let that not become the objective of our lives to the extent that we would even break the commands of Allah, miss our salah, dabble in haram just to get what we want. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with understanding. Kindly forgive me, you can see my eyes are drooping, I'm not feeling very well. But for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in the hope that you benefit, and I truly benefit from these discussions, I've recorded this lecture and I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts my effort and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts your effort and consideration for this lecture and listening to this. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, more importantly, makes this a part of our lives and blesses us with the true iman, like the Sahaba radiallahu anhum had, like the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam taught. And I humbly appeal to everybody, it's Laylatul Jumu'ah tonight as well. Please do engage in salawat, extra salawat and dua. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fulfills all our legal and halal desires, and whatever we pray for and aspire to, and whatever we long for and wish for in this life, and the things that tickle us in our hearts in the depths of the night when nobody knows and it brings tears to our eyes. I pray as the dua that I normally make in the masjid. اللهم إن لنا أدعية كثيرة نخفيها في قلوبنا لا يعلمها إلا أنت اللهم فحققها لنا على أحسن الوجوه حتى نتحير من لطفك بنا يا رب العالمين. Oh Allah, we all have these little du'as that are hidden in the deepest recesses of our heart that nobody besides you know about. Oh Allah, make those dreams, those du'as a reality. Let them materialize for us, Ya Allah, in such a beautiful way that we are left absolutely astounded at how kind you have been to us. Jazakumullahu khaira. Whatever I have said that is correct is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the barakah of His Rasul, and the great benefit that I have derived from my teachers. Whatever I have said that is incorrect is from my nafs, from shaitan and me falling prey to his whisperings, and Allah and His Rasul are absolved of that in its entirety. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.